Here's Noel Keefe and Phil Campbell for Clan Wars MMA. It's been 10 years Clan Wars going. It is arguably the best promotion on this wee island of ours. And we just had Clan Wars 34 in the Crown Plaza Hotel in Belfast. So, Phil, we're just out of it. We've literally come off the main event between Carl McCallick and Dermot O'Bukala. It was done in 43 seconds, so we could their breakdown will probably last longer than that. But what was your thoughts fresh off the main event?
Absolutely devastating. It was a fantastic performance, and I don't think maybe everyone in attendance knew the caliber of the striker of Carl McCallick. You know, a multiple-time ISKA champion in K1 and kickboxing, an extensive Muay Thai background, and he went in there and got the job done with absolutely devastating results. I personally can't wait to see what he does now. Going on, he's got his first win as a pro, and I think, you know, right now we kind of made slight parallels between himself and Cian Cowley, and that they're both, you know, really established strikers transitioning into the MMA game. So the world's really his oyster, especially training at SBG Tala with some of the best guys in the country. Well,
that's the one thing. Like, I definitely think Dermot knew all about Carl McCallick. Oh, yeah. But like I've been announcing Carl McCallick from like 10 years ago, probably longer. I announced Carl for the first time as a Muay Thai fighter, and he was knocking guys out with the bigger gloves on, and he tends to walk through shots to land his shots, and I think his power was demonstrated with literally the first shot he threw. Dermot was walking by us there just before we came to record this, and he had said, I don't even remember taking him down or trying to take him down. So that'll tell you how out he was from the power that he possesses. I did say, I think in commentary, that Carl was one of the most, he was at one time the most feared Thai fighter on this island, and I think he showcased that tonight in 43 seconds.
Yeah, unquestionably. And another thing, you know, moving on from that fight, because that fight in and of itself was fantastic. The other pro fight, two guys making their debuts, you had Ivan Blanita with perhaps one of the most dominant three-round debuts as a pro. He illustrated just why he's considered was considered one of the most dominant wrestlers in the amateur game, you know, picking up numerous titles, 2017, 2018 Irish National Wrestling Champ, and he implemented that game plan so well.
And I said it again, something we spoke about while we were in commentary was like, if you looked at Irish MMA 10 years ago when Clan Wars started, your pro debutants didn't have the experience that both Tig and Ivan brought into the cage there tonight. And you can see that, like, as in Ivan, as you said, his wrestling caliber, like, he looked like a vet in the pro game. How he controlled and nullified what Tig tried to do. Like, Tig dropped to his knees at the announcement of that, and it wasn't because he was surprised by the score. I think it was finally the frustration left his body, because he tried his hardest to stay in control of that frustration during the fight. But when it was over, the adrenaline dropped. He like, man, I was completely nullified. All the training he'd done, everything he'd leading up to that, and for another man to absolutely shut your game down just is a tip of the hat to just how good Ivan is. And we said it in commentary as well, Team Rhino is. Team Rhino are overshadowed in some ways by other gyms, but Team Rhino are one of the leading founders of Irish MMA, and they're showcasing that with a lot of their new breed fighters coming up. We've seen it at Bellator as well recently, Miles Price getting a big win and stuff like that. So, you know, and that's the great thing I'd say about Clan Wars, is that the matchmaking doesn't favourite certain clubs or certain teams, and it's real, you know, the best fight the best on Clan Wars. And it said again, we said it in commentary, the Clan Wars title is one of the most sought after titles, because if you look at the history of who's fought in that Clan Wars cage and where they've gone, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of history in the Clan Wars promotion for fighters.
As you say, it's one of the most, if not the most prestigious title in domestic mixed martial arts. You know, we've seen the Battle of the Carls tonight, in which I thought it kind of illustrated a common theme that ran through the night for me, and that was the ability to impose your game plan. And especially even at the amateur level, where 5, even 10 years ago, you've seen two guys go out, throw on a pair of gloves and just swing wild at each other. Now you're seeing a more methodical, cerebral approach to the game. You're seeing guys who have obviously watched tape, know the strengths of their opponent, like Carl Gallagher, for example, tonight. He was fainting with that takedown. He was giving Carl McBlain that stimulus, and it kind of put, you know, a little bit of a tick in the head of Carl McBlain. Then when he did shoot in for the takedown, he committed fully and nullified the game of the dominant striker. I thought it was just a really great display of how to methodically follow a game plan.
One thing I would have said about Clan Wars 34 was the UFC used to name their shows, like they'd have UFC Devastation or whatever they may be. And tonight for me would have been Clan Wars, the night of the welterweights. There was so many welterweight fights on, and of course we crowned the amateur welterweight champion tonight. Talk to me about that, Mark. That was again impressive.
A real interesting wrinkle of that fight for me was Stevie Mullen and Marek Jakimowicz fought nearly exactly a year ago. I think it was Clan Wars 31. Stevie Mullen came away with the victory. I think it was second round 2 KO. But what you seen was the fruits of the labour of Mark. You know, he went away and he worked diligently with wrestling coach Peter Duncan, boxing coach Andy Burrows, and he just came out like a man possessed in this fight. We thought he was going to punch himself out a little bit because he landed so many heavy strikes. But again, that just speaks to, you know, the type of chin that Stevie Mullen had.
It looked like I think we phrased it saying, can he weather the storm? And it looked like it was true, and there was only a light breeze blowing at this stage, because it looked like Marek had essentially punched himself out. There wasn't as much pop in his shots, but for me it was the accumulation of them shots that eventually dropped Mullen, and it was the left hand that dropped them. And again, like just speaking again, and dropped, like we crowned the heavyweight champion as well tonight. Jules Verdes was taking on Kieran McFadden. McFadden came out to close that range, brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and he illustrated that in the first round by taking down Verdes. And I had said the one aspect of that first round for Jules was he got up twice. He was put back down, but he got up twice from underneath the brown belt. And we had spoke in between rounds, I have to get that released. We had said what he needs to do to win the fight. He came out, and that's exactly what happened inside the first minute of the second round. But yeah, that's a dangerous man. As I said, walking by, Aaron Wallace, our referee in Clan Wars, he said to me, yeah, when you can knock people out like that, you're allowed to have a fist tattooed on your back. And I think that is 100% true. That's twice now we've seen him beat 2 combat jiu-jitsu fighters in devastating fashion.
Yeah, he was able to weather that storm. Kieran McFadden, one of the most decorated grapplers on the island, hadn't fought since 2013, but came out and, you know, ring rust.
No ring rust.
Didn't apply to him at all. Super dominant. Won the first round 10-9. But there's always that X factor with Jules Verdes. There's always that possibility that he only needs one opportunity, and when he lands, it's devastating. Completely separated Kieran McFadden from his senses, winning the Clan Wars heavyweight title, again, most prestigious title on the island, and the sky's the limit for him. I would like to see him, because heavyweight's quite a shallow pool in the amateur division. Pro, I think, would be great. Could you imagine that kind of power, that kind of ferocity in a 4-ounce glove?
But that's the thing with the heavyweights, and we even said it with the light heavyweight fight that was on this evening, that, you know, there's not many that match. Like again, dropping even to middleweight, like Will Fleury has had terrible problems as an amateur trying to get matched. There's just not that many big guys. But like moving forward, Clan Wars 35, what do you want to see?
Well, we've seen the cream of the crop of welterweights, so there's a lot of interesting matches to kind of pick from that. Stevie Costello looked great. Stevie Costello, still very young in his mixed martial arts career, but I think with a performance like that, why not throw him in for a title shot against Marek? I think that would be a really interesting dynamic. You
think he was the other standout welterweight that maybe made his point for that title shot?
Stevie Costello, and you know, obviously you couldn't give Sammy Tufts a title shot against his teammate.
Oh, well, you could.
You could, but I think, you know, I think they know each other's game far too well. Sammy Tufts in perhaps what was the best performance of his amateur mixed martial arts career, and he'll grow in confidence from that. The switch from the single to the high crotch was absolutely beautiful, and the way he dominated on the ground with wrist control and following the hips, genuinely think that's the best he's looked.
Sum it up. Let's sum up the card that was. I know I just asked you about the card ahead, but what way, if you, all these fights are going to be released on YouTube, for example, on the Fight Store page. So how would you sell this to people? Why are you saying go watch these fights?
Because it had absolutely everything, as all Clan Wars shows do. It had knockouts, it had TKOs, it had submissions, it had guys battling back from adversity. We've seen that with Sean Corrigan. He was losing that fight.
Yeah, he was 25 seconds away from defeat.
He lost rounds 1, 2, was losing the third round. But again, that's an illustration of his heart.
Incredibly disappointed he was. He was in the change room while we were getting changed, and he said to me, I'm going to go home and beat myself up over that performance. And I turned around and said, I don't understand that, Sean. I said, you went in there, you didn't have your best night. I said, you fought a game opponent who was beating you. You were 25 seconds away. To me, winning a fight when you're off your game, you're 25 seconds away from defeat and pulling out a submission win, that's more impressive to me than going in there everything to be doing is on tune, everything you're doing is hitting and landing, and you finish a guy, like, let's say, within the first minute, 2 minutes, whatever it may be. I think it's more impressive that he was on the verge of losing that fight. That shows the character, the fighter's mind, and the fighter's heart that he possesses. He pulled that out of the fire. Like I said, 25 seconds away from defeat. For him, he should be going home, he should be opening a beer, and he should be going, I've done it, man. Like, I was beaten, and I've done it.
And there's so much experiential learning to take from that. You know, in his previous fights, yes, he looked great. There were 3 first-round finishes. But there's not a lot of learning to take from that. You know, winning fights that quickly and in dominant fashion. If anything, the risk to take there is complacency setting in. So this was a perfect fight for him. For all that learning and also to come away with the win, I think this could be the making of.
Credit as well to his opponent. Owen Higgins took the fight on a week's notice.
And was so tricky. So in every scramble, he was landing in the dominant position. So again, comes from a relatively unknown club in Strange Wolves, but they are slowly building into something special there.
That's what I want to talk about as well, actually, Shaolin MMA, because I remember for a long time, Shaolin and Galway, of course, Ben Davis, head coach, when they be on Clan Wars, their fighters, a lot of times you've seen them, unfortunately, the wrong end of the decision, or they lost. All of a sudden, that's a stable that is just growing and growing and going strength to strength. Something's
clicked there. Something's clicked at that gym. I don't know what it is, but, you know, it could be with the likes of Andreas Binder and Taglanan Turning Pro. A rising tide lifts all ships. So you see all the guys there really improving and really building on their games. And it's great to see, because that's what we want in the Irish landscape. We want teams being competitive. We don't want gimme fights. We don't want, you know, you don't want to go to a show expectant. You want to go to a show excited, maybe a little bit nervous, and not knowing who's going to win. And that, for me, speaks to the quality of the Clan Wars matchmaking, because all fights tonight were so competitive.
Let's go with the old school fight of the night. Who was your fight of the night, if off the top of your head?
Fight of the night. I really enjoyed the bantamweight title fight. Dara Toman and Alex Badouri, both real staples of the amateur game. Former champions in their own right, coming in and fighting for the title. Dara Toman is illustrating with every fight new nuance to his game. He's illustrating just how well he can follow and implement a game plan, and I thought he looked fantastic.
Submission of the night.
Submission of that's got to be Carl Gallagher, hasn't it? Because he was just
calm, cool, composed, weighted.
And it was kind of, you know, it was kind of the story of, you know, sort of fire and ice in that fight. You had the aggressive striker in Carl McBlain, and then you had sort of the cool, calm, collected guy in Carl Gallagher. Even when he got the choke in, you didn't see him grimace, like really go for it. You seen him apply slow, methodical jiu-jitsu pressure. So submission of the night, Carl Gallagher.
There's 2 candidates for this. Knockout of the night.
Oh, can I give amateur knockout of the night and professional knockout? Okay.
No.
I'm going to have to say Carl McCallig.
I agree.
Yeah. You sound shocked that you agree with me.
Because I thought you would have went with the heavyweights. This sounds ridiculous to say this, but knockouts you sort of expect in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, because one punch can change everything in a heavyweight fight. I think it was also the precision and the accuracy with which
his precision was precise.
It was indeed, and it's all over. Yeah. It was a beautiful strike. What
I liked about it was, Carl mightn't tell you, but losing his first fight, there was a lot of pressure on Carl McCallig to perform tonight. So for me, that's why, you know, you asked could we do amateur professional? I said no to it. But I think a knockout at professional should get the nod over a knockout at amateur, because these guys, that record is on your tombstone. Everything, you know, as an amateur, you're learning. So that knockout was devastating in fashion, and was like, as we said there, it was like, I don't even remember taking you down. So for me, for everything that was riding on and how he finished it, for me, knockout of the night has to go to Graham McCulloch.
Agreed.
But Clan Wars 24, it's been an early card, nice and early card. Finishes at 6 o'clock. If you've not been to a Clan Wars and you're from Belfast, what else are you doing on your day? But if you want to come and see brilliantly matched fights, if you want to come and see athletes compete to a high level, be it amateur and pro, Clan Wars is for you. It's a night of entertainment. You can sit back, enjoy the atmosphere, unique atmosphere of Clan Wars, watch some incredible fights, have some drink, and go away laughing, wanting more.
And if you haven't already, follow the Clan Wars page on Facebook, the Clan Wars page on Instagram, and where can people find you on social media?
I'm at NOK1980, I think. I'm saying that like Ron Burgundy with a question. I think I am at NOK1980. And where can Mr. International be found?
You find me at PC_commentary on Instagram.
So this has been Noel O'Keefe and Phil Campbell, the the partners in crime, the Ant and Deck of Irish MMA, signing off for Clan Wars. Stay beautiful.